Today we're going to be doing, hello everyone, today we're going to be doing um, Photoshop layers, and the idea for this activity to walk you through the Photoshop layers is to do fandom protest posters because I saw a whole bunch of them that were pretty awesome at the Women's March and thought, oh, there's going to be a lot more matchers coming on, so let's just take a moment and do some fan remixing with our Photoshop lesson today. So here are some examples of fandom crossover with protest that sort of inspired me for this assignment and activity, and I'm actually writing a paper on these this semester. So with that kind of inspiration at the forefront, I wanted us to have pulled some media images that you brought to class. You can see I have a folder full of my base images here. These are images that I've already pulled up, and we're going to jump into Photoshop. Photoshop has your canvas area, and then it has your toolbar adjustments over here on the right, and then your toolbar on the left. On the right, you'll notice that you have your layers. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the top left-hand corner under File and create a new canvas. I'm going to give our canvas a name, Maz. I'm doing Maz Hope. Um, and I'm going under the presets. There are a variety of presets available for you. So if you're developing stuff specifically for the web, you can go to the web presets and it gives you the current, what's what I'm looking for, monitor sizes. Likewise for mobile devices, they do that. As well as for print, which is what we're going to be doing today. US paper. I've selected tabloid because it is the largest size you can do in US paper that can be easily printed. And you'll notice that it defaults to 300 DPI or pixels per inch. That's very high resolution, great for print, really crappy for digital media because it takes up more space. So if you're doing a digital project, it would be 72 there, a 72. But since we're doing print today, we're going to keep it at 300. And I'm going to switch it from RGB, which is what we'd use for web, to CMYK, which is what we'd use for print. And the final thing I'm going to do is it defaults to 11 by 17, a vertical frame, but I actually want a horizontal, so I'm going to change my width to 17 and my height to 11. Once we're done with that, I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to generate my canvas. You'll notice on the left-hand side in our toolbar over here that we have our layers channel here, and we now have a background. It's locked, so we can't really mess around too much with the background here. The major thing that we can do is change the colors, which is this palette down here on the left. But before we get around to messing around with backgrounds, we need some additional layers. So if we go up to the top left-hand corner under File, and this time we're going to hit Open, and we're going to find our base image folder, and we're going to pick out the image that we wanted to use for our poster. I'm choosing Maz with the lightsaber, and there she is. And now we need to get this image or portions of this image over to my canvas, and I'm going to use on the left hand side a selection tool, and it's called the lasso tool, and if you click down and hold down you'll get a bunch of options, and one of them is the magnetic lasso. It is your friend. So now that you have the magnetic lasso, we're going to start at the bottom left hand corner and we're going to click on our image, and you'll see it creates a dot, and it will follow as best as it can the outline of the person that you are trying to select. In my case, it's Maz. And you're going to follow along her outline or whoever you're cutting out of their background. Nope. Undo that last one. Ah, no. Okay. Sometimes you have to do that. You have to start over. And we don't want the table, we just want moss. It's important not to double click, guys. Double click closes your loop, and then you have to start over just like I had to. Um, okay. And we're getting into a little bit easier area to do. And when you get to a little easier areas, you don't have to go quite so far apart or close together for the area. What it really is doing as far as the magnet is it's finding where there's a difference in density in the tone, and that's where it decides the line is going to be. So it can see the changes between like this dark brown and that light gray. And so it says, oh, that must be where the line you're trying to create. Don't worry about it getting perfectly because we can go ahead and clean it up in post. Or post, yeah. You can tell that I am a film editor at heart. Okay. And again, I told you if you make two, there we go. There's my selection. I'm then going to go into the zoom tool, which is somewhere around here. I just usually hit the Z. There it is. It's the magnifying glass. So I can get closer in. And then I'm going to hit my back to my lasso. And again, if you hold it down, it gets you a regular lasso tool. Now this is very important. Make sure you hold down your space bar, and that lasso tool will turn into a hand, and that allows you to move your frame around without losing your selection. If you do lose your selection, you can always go under select and reselect, and it should pop right back up. So don't freak out, but that's like a one-time only get out of field charge. If you deselect and do something else, you can't reselect. So try not to deselect. Okay, now that I'm down to here, I know I have a screw up here. So if you hold down your shift key, you'll notice that it gets a plus sign. And if you hold down your Alt key, you'll get a negative sign. That's your minus sign. And that's how you add or delete selection. So I'm going to hold down my Shift key and plus, and then if I start inside my selection and then go out, and I circle the thing that I want to add, all of a sudden that little jagged is gone, right? So Shift, get your little plus sign, start inside, and then make a circle, and that will close. Again, spacebar gives you the hand that allows you to move around, and you can go ahead and make those selections. Now, if you want to get rid of a selection, like so there's the gap in her arm. If you want to get rid of that, you hold down the Alt to get your negative. You start on the outside of the frame, of the line of the thing that you want to keep, and you can go in and draw a circle, and it makes that gap. And there it goes. And then you can just go through and make a little bit cleaner of a selection for yourself. And again, remember, Shift to add, Alt to remove, and space to get the grabby hand to be able to move the frame. Now that you can see all of your selection, you're going to go under the top left, the top menu, and go under Select, and we're going to go to Modify, and we're going to do Smooth. I'm going to do Smooth, I would say no more than 2 or 3 pixels, and that just makes the little jaggeds go away. And then we're going to go back to under select, and then we're going to go back under modify, and we're going to do feather. And feather creates a less hard line. So if you want a hard line, you're going to have a 0 feather. If you want a really soft line, you're going to want no more than 10 or 15. I actually don't want that big of a feather. I want 2 or 3 pixels. Um, and that just smooths, gives a little bit of opacity to that edge. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to copy my selection, which is Apple C, or you can go to edit copy. So Apple or Command C or edit copy. And then we're going to go back over to our canvas and I'm going to do edit paste. And there's my mouse. Now she's pretty small. It's Apple T transform. I don't know where that is. Okay, but it's Apple T in our classroom. And that gives you a frame window. And if you hit the shift button in the right hand corner, you can make Maz as big as you need her to be. And then hit return. And it smooths it out. And she's pretty good resolution. And then again, with our move object business. And there we go. So that's our second layer. And you can see that on the right hand side. We have our background layer and then we have our Moz layer. And there's little eyeballs next to each. So if you want to see with and without Moz, with or without background, there you go. My next thing that I want to do, now that I have Moz in there, is to get her a background. So I'm going to go to File and I'm going to go Open. I'm going to pick one of the backgrounds that I have. I like to do texture backgrounds, but you can do all sorts of different backgrounds available to you. And again, we're going to do Select All, which is Command A or Apple A, or if you want to do, you can do Select All. And then we're going to do the copy again, which is Command C or Edit Copy. And then we're going to go back to our canvas and I'm going to do Edit V or Command V to paste. And again, I'm actually going to make this a little bit smaller even. Now we have our image here. This is our third layer. I'm going to line that up with the corner of my canvas. And then again, I'm going to do that Command T and drag that corner, holding down the shift to keep everything in proportion, and then hit return to make that transformation stick. Now you'll notice that the layer is, we've just made Moz disappear. On the layer palette on the right hand side, you can drag those layers around. So I'm going to drag my layer 2 and I'm going to put it below layer 1. And now Moz is on top of that background layer. And I'm going to make that layer 1 not quite so bold. My background layer quite so bold. So under, click that layer, we have the opacity up here. And I'm going to reduce that opacity so it fades out quite a bit actually. And part of that is because I don't want to cost the printing of having print gray, but also to make Moz stand out more. Okay, so you got 2 layers in your background. One of the things you can do for that background is you can have colors in that background. So if you click the background that's at the very, very bottom, that's your solid color. And on the bottom left hand side here, you'll see that there's this color palette. There's black and white right now, but if you double click on one of those squares, you'll get your color picker, and you can pick whatever color you want to be in that color picker. I don't know what I want to do. Do I want to do a nice soft blue for Moz? I think I do. Okay, so I'm going to do a nice soft blue for Moz, and then I'm going to click my paint bucket. And again, make sure your background layer is selected, and you can click on there, and all of a sudden now she has a blue background. Now, if you clicked on the layer with Moz and you click this, all of a sudden it's going to be very different. And that's because you've just filled in everything that's around Moz. So we don't want to do that. We want to do it on its own layer. And that we do that because it's easier to make changes later on. I can get rid of that layer. I can do what I feel like over here. Okay, so there we have slightly tinted blue steel background with Moz. I could probably even make Moz a little bit bigger if I so wanted to. Again, that's Command T, transform. I want to say it is under Edit, Transform. I'm doing Free Transform because I want to have control. And we can make Moz even a little bit bigger. And again, hit Return to make that stick. Okay. So the last thing to do is add text. To add text, if you go to your toolbar on the left-hand side and look for your T, there it is. If you click on that T and we get a cursor image icon, go ahead and click anywhere in your canvas and you can then type your text. I am going to write up a quote from Moz. Hope is not lost today. It is found. I think that's the quote. Yep. And you'll notice that it's way bigger than it needs to be. I'm going to go ahead and make breaks where it needs to be. And then if we click the little arrow icon to move layers around, you can do that here and go back and forth until you've positioned it the way you want it to be positioned, until you have it there. And again, when you're in the text and you select all, you can also change your font. The top left hand corner here, there's a drop down with all the different font types available to you. You can also change the color by clicking the color icon and choosing from your picker, hitting OK, and you get the idea. And with that, you can finish up, save. It's going to get you your Photoshop. PS, I don't know what it is, PSD, and then File, Save As. Once it's done saving my file, you can do the Save As and make a JPEG. There we go. And you're going to pick up the JPEG here as well and create your JPEG image. Okay.